a story based on Indian English. Mr. and Mrs. Chadha one day got a guest. Somebody came to stay with them. So in the evening, they left their guest alone at home and went out to do shopping. A little later, a phone call came. Hello? So our friend, the guest, takes the call, and the other person says, "May I talk to Mr. Chadha?" Of course, he wants to say that they are not at home, they have just gone out. So he says, "No, Mr. Chadha has passed away." So he says, "May I speak to Mrs. Chadha?" Then he says, "She also has passed away." Then the next question is, "Then who are you?" Says, "I'm their ghost." All right? So I'm saying this to you because I was congratulated for completing 7 years in office. I have to say to you that the person you see today is not the one who began 7 years ago. I'm only the ghost. All right? Okay. Well, come back to our strain of thought, which we had to abandon for want of time yesterday. I was trying to say something about the kind of questions that we need to ask and the level at which we need to peg those questions. Because we found out some days ago that you are the questions that you ask. The best way to know a person is by analyzing the question that person asks or does not ask, either way. If you have no questions to ask, that also reveals you. If you ask stupid questions, that reveals you. If you ask relevant questions, that tells something about you. If you ask profound and searching questions, that says something about you, right? So you are the questions you ask. And therefore, we need to be conscious of the kind of questions that we ask. And yesterday, we were looking at the bankruptcy, the poverty of asking questions like, what shall I eat? What shall I drink? What shall I wear? And nothing more. Right? That's how animals live. Animals, of course, don't verbalize these questions. They simply run around looking for water, for food, so on and so forth. And then the text introduces two beautiful images. It says, "Behold the birds of the air." What? Behold the birds of the air. And soon thereafter says, "Behold the lilies of the field." Right? Now, what about the birds of the air and the lilies of the field? In what sense are they exemplars for us, or models for us, role models for us? Is there anything that we can learn from the bird in the air? Not the sleeping bird. Behold the birds in the air. That's what it says. Birds flying. Have you watched a bird fly? It's majestic. Have you seen a lily in fine bloom? What do we have to learn from them? I suppose it is something like this, but you think about it. The bird in the air, the lily in fine bloom, both of them have one thing in common, and that is both exist in their full capacity, 100%. When a bud opens and a flower results or comes into view, it's 100%. When a bird flies, it's not 99%, it's 100%. Its full capacity. Now, among all the animals in the world, human beings alone have the choice of performing at 1%, 5%, 7.5%, 66.666%, which is eligibility for writing the exam. Right? Behold the birds in the air. Okay? When we try to get away with the bare minimum, what is it that we have to say to ourselves? Behold the birds in the air. Right? When we experience that sort of self-denigrating laziness by which we think we can copy the successful tutorials from the past, what should we say to ourselves? Behold the lilies of the field. Why do you think the college campus is kept so beautiful? It's because of this. Of course, we don't have the money, the material resources to turn this into 100% marvel. But we are trying. With what little we have, we are trying. Every nook, every corner, we are trying. And the campus of the college, its beauty, its greenery, its perfection, its striking difference from other campuses is not a matter of arrogance, it's a fact that I state in humility. All these are meant to communicate something to all of us. If the college is performing 99%, why not each one of us? I know we are not perfect. There are many areas that we need to improve in. We will never rest. The journey is on. So this is the first thing. The kind of questions or the set of questions that we need to ask ourselves is this. How far am I from the bird in the air, which is flying? It doesn't lack anything by way of perfection. How far am I from that lily which I see blooming out there? And what is it that I can do and I have to do in order to be like them? I'm not saying that like, Icarus in Greek mythology, we should fit waxen wings to ourselves and fly. Or we should go and stand out in the open saying, I am lily. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is perfection. You remember the text? Be perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. Now, this is the human problem, or this is the problem that plagues the human predicament all over the world. All the problems of the world issue from this reality that the members of our species are far, far away from the norm, from the optimum level of being and performing that are meant for us. Suppose you see a flower which is cankered. Some insect has eaten up 3/4 of it. Will you go stand admiring it? Ah, beautiful. Huh? What an ugly flower. Beautiful. You don't do that. I mean, you would rather clip it away. You don't like the beauty of the garden to be spoiled by an ugly flower. It was required of the flower to be beautiful. Instead, it is ugly. So you will remove it. Right? So there are questions to be asked. We don't ask those questions, do we? Are we aware of the fact that we are at a pathetic distance from what we can be. Immanuel Kant, in his reflections on education, says the function of education is to accept people as they are and to lead them to where they can be. He was actually rephrasing what Rousseau, in his pedagogic novel, Emile, said, that the function of the purpose of education is the perfection of human nature. And that is possible only if we learn to ask some questions to ourselves. That's why people say, you must spend some time in silence, in meditation, in communion with yourself. From the beginning of Greek philosophy, it was very clearly understood that the most important dialogue in the world is the dialogue between you and your soul. Now, of course, it's a matter of debate as to how you understand soul. The word soul in that statement is not used in the religious sense, but in the philosophical sense. The soul as a symbol of the noblest, the highest, and the best in you. I think it was Parmenides who said that I have a very difficult brother living with me in my house. He doesn't give me one moment's rest. He harasses me, he plagues me all the time. He was actually referring to his soul, his conscience, that's constantly pricking him. Now that's the reason why the great Spanish philosopher critic, whose book, The Tragic Sense of Life, even today is a reference book. His name is Miguel de Unamuno. He was a deeply spiritual person, and he has a collection of prayer. And in one of his prayers he says, Lord, do not give me peace, give me greatness. That's the prayer. Give me not peace, but greatness. And that's a sign of a good human being. So, the duty to interrogate, the discipline of asking questions is fundamental to the process of individuation. I'm introducing a technical word now. Individuation, again a word from philosophy, is the painful process of becoming a human being. You understand? Individuation. All right? What does it mean? The painful process. It's not easy. The painful process of becoming a human being. By virtue of being born, we don't become human. We begin the journey of our life as animals do. In fact, in a more pathetic situation, as Rousseau takes a lot of pains to explain. He says, if you look at the beginning of the journey of a human being and that of any other animal, human journey is most pathetic, the least promising, the most vulnerable. So from there, we have to grow and grow and grow and grow. And that process of growth is a painful process. And that's what is called individuation. The painful process of becoming a human being. Now, Charles Darwin, in The Origin of Species, talks about the missing link between the apes and the Homo sapiens, our species. There is a missing link. Actually, that's not the truth. The truth is There is a continuity from the apes to us. The missing link is between us and the human beings. You understand? There is a missing link. I think Charles Darwin mislocated it. We are continuous with the ape. Marginal difference, small touches. So what is important is that from that beginning we have to evolve and grow and move towards the most glorious purpose or destiny in the world, which is to become a human being. There is nothing greater, nothing higher, nothing nobler, nothing more wonderful than becoming a human being. But very few people reach there, very, very few. The pathos of the human predicament is not that we are mortal, that people die. Dying is very natural. Death must be welcomed. Death is what Blake calls the mercy of eternity to time. It's a wonderful thing. Don't get scared of death. But the tragedy of life is not that we die. The tragedy of life is that we die before we become human beings. That is the tragedy. You understand? And therefore, this discipline of asking questions is a necessary safeguard against our remaining frozen in time, being reluctant to move from the animal stage to the stage of Homo sapiens, number one. Number two, having reached that stage, the threshold of being human, not going further towards exemplifying the full glory and greatness of being human. Samuel Beckett, in that famous play, Waiting for Godot, I don't know which character it is who says, he says, our most important task is to show the species to which we belong in a better light. You understand? What is our most important task? To show the species to which we belong in a better light. Now, in this context, the text today, which is the words of Jesus of Nazareth, he says, seek first. Seeking is asking, and asking is seeking. What is it that you have to ask? What is it that you have to seek? Seek first the kingdom of God and his justice. Now, what is kingdom of God? It's not a religious category at all. In fact, Jesus never preached religion. I'm saying something very controversial, but I'm very conscious of the meaning of what I'm saying. What he meant by the kingdom of God is precisely what I have been trying to explain to you for the last 10 minutes. Kingdom of God is a way of life, a state of being in which we function, or human beings function, or the group functions at the highest levels of our human potential. That's why Jesus says, be thou perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. And that's the kingdom of God. This quality of life and the state of society that result from every human being straining towards perfection is the kingdom of God. There's another verse in the Bible, it's from a book called Letter to Hebrews, where it says, forgetting that which is behind, straining after that which is before us, let us run with diligence the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith. This journey, this painful process of becoming a human being is now looked at through the metaphor of a runner, right? Leaving that which is behind And have you ever been an athlete? You will understand. This is the image of a runner. When you take off the blocks, for a sprinter, only one thing is real, and that's the tape or the finishing line. That kind of a glorious existential tension, a kind of sanctified urgency, a sort of indescribable inner motivation, all of which constitutes this wonderful experience of ecstasy. These must become the hallmark of a Stephanian. I have never been able to understand how a human being can feel bored. I have never experienced boredom in all my life. You understand? There is no scope for boredom in human life. There is no margin for depression in human life. You cannot say that time is hanging heavy on my hands, because you will become impervious to time. You will become conscious of eternity. You will rise to a very different level of being. And to use another expression from the last book of the Bible, you will see a new heaven and a new earth. When you become human. Right now you will not. Right now, wherever you look, you will see enemies, you will see problems, you will see reasons to be offended, you will become angry, full of resentment, right? And you don't understand why that is happening to you? When you open your eyes, you will see a new heaven and a new earth. And that's the kind of question that we need to ask. Let's rise for prayer.